Welcome. You have to welcome me. You have to say, welcome, Dr. Max. Thank you very much. That's so kind of you. Now, I just learned that you're very well paid. I paid attention to that, incredibly well paid. But I still have some free books for you at no cost. Yeah? Because the people at the front are very ambitious. The people at the back are very creative. And then in between, we shall see. Maybe you like people. So this is the world's best-selling book on strategy. Who would like a copy of this book? You have to catch it. So are you ready? Are you still into? Yeah? So be ready to duck. This is like an English test and an athletics test all at once. Yeah, you ready? See? Oh! Okay. Over here, anyone willing to take my test? Because this is the best book on innovation in the world. I shall throw it into the middle there. I think you don't believe those people that I can throw that far. This one, yeah, you two have to duck. The lady in yellow is getting it. Oh, it wasn't. This is my book. I'm a psychologist and a strategist and an innovator. This is my book on NOWISM. This is, over there, yeah. Nobody's received one there. Oh, how good am I? Is it ripped? Over here, I can go further. Yeah, okay. Now this is to teach a point as we go. One, to make you alive. So you don't have to laugh at fat jokes. What's that? Who knows? Who knows? But this is also to illustrate a point, and that is that your greatest opportunities, your greatest successes will come from strategic responses to unplanned opportunities. Your greatest successes will come from strategic responses to unplanned opportunities. Always, always. You can plan. This will get you so far. But the really good stuff, it's from responding quickly and strategically to the unplanned. It's paying attention and then going for it. And this is a key part of my message and my research. I work as a coach, but I also work as a researcher and a psychologist, and that's where this comes from. So in order to start, I think we need an initial definition. And because I'm an academic, it can come from me. And the first definition is over here. And it is that strategy is about shaping the future. Shaping the future. It's about getting to desirable ends, someplace you want to go, someplace that makes you happy. There we go. Little happiness. I'm so happy. It could be a man or a feet, whatever. And you can be equally happy, apparently, just not with each other. So there we go. And this is available means where you start. This is part of strategy. So my grandfather is dead. This is my test for empathy. Yeah, no, that was quite good. I loved him, and he's now dead. Maybe there's been lots of death, and nobody cares much about my misery and suffering. So my grandfather, when he was alive, he used to tell a little joke. He was an Irishman, and he would tell a joke. A man is driving along, and he is lost. And he stops. This is before GPS. I mean, GPS, it makes it easy, doesn't it? You can argue about who's following the GPS best. But before, you had to argue about the map. And he winds down the window. Ireland was a very poor country in those days. There's none of this. There's just this. So he winds down the window and he asks for directions. And he says, I need to get here to this place. Do you know? And when you're given directions, do you listen to anything past the first bit of the instruction? You know, they say, well, you have to go straight, and that's all you hear. Well, I remember the straight bit. I mean, left, right, not so sure. My father's very clever with this. He used to tape. He used to have a little recorder, and he would record what they said and play it back to himself. Anyway, so records it. Winds down his window. Where am I? Need to get here. And the guy says, well, you're lost. I know where it is, but I would not start here if I were you. I mean, it would be so much easier to achieve your aim if you were closer to your destination. And so it is with strategy. There is an awful lot of strategy that imagines a perfect world and then writes a document as if you were not where you are now. The smart strategy starts from where you are with what you have and plots a course towards where you want to be. Available means to desirable ends. Available means to desirable ends. So strategy is not a solo sport. It is not a document. It is not this. This is quite popular. You know, this is a strategy. There we go, plus 10%. There we go, I finished my strategy. We've shared it around. This is not a strategy. It's this. This is the strategy. Plotting your course to somewhere you want to go. Strategy is about shaping the future. Now, the other thing that we have to bring in here is, of course, what happens when we can't get to where we want to go with available means or available ideas? What about when we want to go somewhere impossible? Well, this is when innovation becomes useful, because innovation is about making new ideas useful. It's about making new ideas useful. So when you want to go somewhere impossible, and there aren't available ideas for getting there, point I, this is when innovation is useful, because before then, why bother? Why bother with a new idea if it's already possible to get to where you want to without it? The new idea becomes useful at the point that you want to go somewhere faster or somewhere better or somewhere impossible without it. Now, my father, who is not dead, although I do love him, my father and I, we used to watch a television program called Tomorrow's World, BBC, and we would sit on the sofa together. I have brothers and sisters, but we would sit on the sofa together, and he would watch it. And every time a new invention came on, he would nudge me in the side like this. He'd say, Max, what? Max, I thought of that first. Every time. I mean, you know, I have good ribs now. But even then, I realized that there was a difference between having an idea and making that idea useful. Did he have any patents? No. Did he invent anything? No. But he'd had an idea. But this is what we call only an insight. And we can have two kinds of insight. We can have a problem insight, or we can have a solution insight. Problem insight, that is that famous lady who said, I want to wear this dress in order to sell door to door in America. I don't like the shape of my body in the dress, so I'm going to invent Spanx. So she goes from problem insight to kind of solution insight. Is it a good solution? Who knows? Is it a bit sexist, body sort of concerned? Maybe. But she went from, I've got a problem myself, I have solved it myself. It turns out that lots of other people share the same set of needs or insecurities, whichever. Is it as good as keeping fit? Who knows? Who knows? She looks like she's... Anyway. So, insight to problem and solution. There is no future in the past, but there is a little bit of past in the future. And this is my symbol for... I keep improving on these. Somebody complained about my fish last time I drew one. You can't please everybody, can you? Well, you can. You just have to work really hard, and sometimes you don't want to. So there we go. This is my little symbol, a fish for failure to learn from the past. Actually, they can learn quite well. I've been watching David Attenborough, and they seem quite good at tool making, and they've survived for ages, longer than we have. But now we put them in goldfish bowls, on our plates, on our TV screens, and then occasionally in movies made by Pixar. The same movie over and over again. Has anybody in this room ever made a mistake? Try, just try. I like to know who's perfect or deluded. If this was a room of politicians, nobody would put their hand up, would they? I mean, not even close. So, yeah, has anybody in the room ever made the same mistake twice? Has anybody ever married that person? Is there someone put their hand up and divorced them? Which, one of those two? Yeah. So, marriage has been defined as a series of one-night stands interspersed with failure to learn. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. I'm going to go and hang out with my girl male friends, and we're going to talk about how one day it will be better. I mean, it might be, because my grandfather is dead. So that improved his relationship and everything. No, he was in love. He was in love with my grandmother. So, failure to learn. So what we get from this is that experience, just having an experience, does not necessarily equal learning. Certainly not if we mean acting on learning from in an intelligent way and then being better as a result. I mean, Bill Gates is famous for saying that success is a terrible teacher. Fuck off, Bill Gates. You were successful when you were born. He was rich. You look at how many billionaires were rich when they were born before you judge who to copy in life. No, success can be a teacher, failure can be a teacher, but what is the real teacher? You, your brain. You learn, or somebody else points it out to you. It's not success or failure. Experience does not necessarily equal learning. And obviously, he's a lovely man, and I'll apologize if I ever meet him again. So, humans, though, this is my modern human, and I'm going to put in there a modern human brain. Now, my daughter is many wonderful things, but she's also a psychologist, so I have to make my human brain more and more accurate to please her. So we got frontal lobe, tap, frontal lobe. Discover yourselves. You should do it with me. Tap, that's you, right there. Right there. If I insert a little piece of metal through your eye up there to the frontal lobe, and I just sort of prick it too much, you're not you anymore. So if you ever wondered where you are, just there. So frontal lobe, and then we've got the occipital lobe back here, and we've got the cerebellum. We'll make this. Anyway, it's all to illustrate that a while ago, we became modern humans, modern beautiful humans, who knows? And here she is, my little cave girl, ancestor of my daughter, And there she is. There we go. Oh, she's looking great. You never know. If you're kind of drawing your daughter, you don't know whether to properly make her a woman or not. It's a bit awkward, isn't it? It's a bit awkward. I don't want to be those fathers who say, oh, she's turned into such a great woman. Well, I suppose she is, but anyhow. What makes us wonderful modern humans? Well, we're animals and we share many traits with many other animals, but we've got slightly different brains, and they particularly allow us to do this. They allow us to imagine the world. Here's a rock, and here's a stick. We can see a stick. And we say, well, what would happen if we combined those two things? They're not combined yet, but what happens if we combine them? Oh, we have invented the spear. Yeah, that's what we can do. We see, we shape in our minds, we build with our hands, and then suddenly we have a tool, and we can do more than we could do before. Are we the strongest? No. Are we the fastest? Definitely not. I mean, even when we have a big race and organize it as the Olympics, we cheat and we cheat and we cheat. We're not that fast, really. But what we're really good at is combining objects in the world and ideas in the world in our heads and then building them. And from that, we've done all sorts of other things. I mean, think it's a tree, but what, here we go, it's a tree. But what if we cut a bit off? We've invented the wheel, put a hole in it. Now we have a wheel. Takes a while before we turn it into a spoked wheel, and a little while longer before we have the bicycle, but we invent all of these things. And therefore, human future is built on a number of human characteristics, and among them are curiosity. We just do it. Not all of us equally. There are some very uncurious people. They're a bit odd. We could play semantics. I mean, they are curious and very special, but not that curious about anything else. Curiosity, necessity, the things that we think are important, and I guess pleasure in all of this. Pleasure, pain, security. Curiosity, necessity. So what's that built? Well, as soon as we could, we started communicating. So that we wanted to share our ideas, and I'm quite, let's see, I like to do them in Egyptian. I can't really draw Egyptian, but it allows me the little joke here that they invented Twitter, the Egyptians, and I think Instagram. Look at that, a little eye photo. Look at my makeup, it's amazing, and look at those lips. There we go. So we invent language. It goes from, what did you say? We better invent language. And then we start writing it down. So speech, and then writing, and then we invent the printing press. That's popular. And then we go from there, and things get really wild sometime later when we invent, do you remember these? Do you remember that these once existed in the world? Maybe they still do. Yeah. And this was so cute. This is the past, by the way. The past. This doesn't exist anymore. This has gone from a totally important, necessary, cool, popular communications tool to a hipster toy. The only people who have this at the moment are nostalgics, but I remember it was a really big deal in my household. We had our phone, and we had a telephone table. We had a table underneath, and you would put it on the you'd worship it. We put it on the telephone table, and if you had a lot of money, you had one that you could put coats on, or umbrella stand, or a magazine rack, if you knew how to write, read, and had a phone. So we had a phone, and we had artifacts around it. We had a way of dealing with it. And in our house, we even had a training course. So I have 3 brothers and a sister, and we liked to use the phone. I don't know why, really. Essentially, it was call center work. My father was out. Nothing wrong with call center work. I've worked there. But answer the phone. And we would run towards it. Ring, 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 ring. I do this in slow motion, but I don't have that much time. So do it in slow. We'd grab it and we'd kicking them off. Get off me, get off me. And we pick up the phone and suddenly quiet. Hello, this is the Mckeown residence. My father is not available to take this call. May I take a message? And then we'd take a message, write something down, then carry on fighting. My grandparents would call sometimes. Hello, Mckeown residence, it's your grandfather. And because telephones were viewed as quite expensive, they would just say, hello, happy birthday, son, happy birthday. You're called everybody's son. Happy birthday, son. I love you, goodbye. And this was to save money. Those were those people, I don't know if you recall, your parents would send you out without any money to make a phone call, and they would say, call 3 times, and I'll know it's you. And I'll come and pick you up. Great. Anyway, so look, what I'm describing here is we've invented stuff to satisfy our needs, and they come not only as a physicalization of the idea, but they come with artifacts, the telephone table. They come with culture, the training, and even the way that they picked up the phone. Later, when telephones became essentially free, because you paid a monthly fee, my grandparents would still, this was while he was alive, but my grandparents would still call up quickly and say, love you, goodbye. No, but it costs, I'll hand you to Nan. And we started to suspect he didn't love us, but generally speaking, we really decided that this was because his approach to using the technology was stuck in another era. If you ask my grandfather, what time is it? He might as well have said, it's 1952, son. It's 1952. What year are you in? And this also is a theme here. If our greatest successes will come from strategic responses to unplanned opportunities, the second question would become, are you fit for the year you're living in? Are you fit for this year, 2017? Are you getting ready for 2021? Are you ready for the future? Because they were living in 1952 and things kept moving along. And there are still CEOs who won't read their emails. And there are politicians who are deciding on tech policy who don't know anything about Bitcoin, that's for sure. So technology moves along. And this telephone becomes this telephone. I don't know if you recall this one. Little cute screen and a big button in the center. It's one of the Nokias. Does anybody have a Nokia? Yeah, because you're a tech group. And a keyboard. We were really proud of our Nokias, the 1 billion phone company. How could it possibly fail? How could that happen? Impossible, I would have thought. Because, they had great HR policies. They recruited the very best. They had brainstorming. How could you fail? Next thing that came along didn't really give them the clue, but it should have. Next thing came along, looked a little bit like this. 1, 2, 3. Not yet. I love that you joined in, though. Yeah? BlackBerry. Yeah, we know it's a BlackBerry because it does a few things we like. One, it has a space bar. Yeah, so we can type our shit to anybody who wants to read it. There we go. My daughter, when she arrives home from university, she's doing a master's now. When she arrives home, she has to download everything that has happened to her mother. And there is a 48-hour period in which I'm not allowed to talk, and I think she just injects it. It might be wireless now, I don't know, but everything she said, and then he said, and then Claire did, everything. So we want to share the things that happened to us, and this filled into it perfectly. Celebrities who really think their shit matters, they were really going for it. And then that becomes the phone until this one happens. And that person can speak again if they want. Say, I saw it coming. I saw it coming, yeah. The iPhone, 2007. We know that this is what a phone looks like. Something like this anyway. It's got icons, it has a button. And this becomes so standardized that all phones look that way for quite a while. I mean, they changed the shape of the screen, the size of the screen a little bit, and Apple have just got rid of, if you have too much money, they've just got rid of the button. I mean, we like the button, but anyway, getting rid of that button to go from one click to no clicks costs you an extra £300. So you get less for more. And so it is generally with technology. I mean, clearly I'm teasing, but it is that way. But purchasing something, how many steps does that take? And then Amazon come along and it becomes one-click shopping. You like that? I do. You've already sorted out how to pay. It means you don't have to make a decision at all. The Primer's taking care of the delivery fee if you're doing that. And suddenly, buy. No problem. And if I don't like it, send it back. Which is why some of the very best recognize this. And they say, well, we don't want you to be annoyed, so we'll make it really easy to buy and then very easy to get your money back. So iTunes, Audible, these companies, they don't fight you. That's so 20th century. I tell you 20th century, could you refer to the terms and conditions? This is not 2017. This is some other era. Nobody reads those things. And even if they do read them, you're basically saying, please don't do business with us ever again because we tricked you. Audible say, you bought a book, you listened to a book, you enjoyed the book, but we'll still let you, if you want, have your money back. Because we want you to keep buying and buying and buying and buying and not feel bad. This is 2017, but maybe for some countries, they won't, and some businesses, they won't get there till 2040. The idea that the frictionless is good and the zero click, the reason that Domino's now has that really nifty feature, you can set up a pre-order for your pizza called something like Saturday Night Movies, and you just open the app, and as you open the app, it starts to order. You don't even have to click. You just open the app, and then it has a little countdown, and you can change your mind. I mean, who's going to change their minds? The pizza's coming. I mean, you'd be stupid. It probably should say, what's wrong with you? So anyway, so this taking away matters, but it's essentially the same thing. We're playing in the same space physically. I know they're working terrifically hard to make it better, but we don't feel that much. This has become the dominant design. And it's really what happens inside it that starts to happen. I mean, my favorite thing that happens inside it is this little fella. Yeah? I should add red, shouldn't I, to make him genuine, but, you know, again, we don't have all the time. A little Pikachu. I mean, the reason I would buy an iPhone X is to play Pikachu sort of quicker. The reason I accepted to come here is because I heard that there were Pokemon here that there are nowhere else. And the reason for sort of including that is that the creativity, the innovation, the possibility is now what you can do with the phone. So we all know at one stage we just had an abacus. That's how we'd count. And then a calculator at some stage, but the calculator's bigger than this room. And then eventually it gets, only the 1970s, small enough to take to school. We view that as normal. That little one with the solar panel, take that to school, feel very expensive and important. Nobody knows how to use the scientific stuff. Anybody who knows how to use that is now working in Silicon Valley. That's the difference. Those people, that's how we should test them. So all this process, huge computers, eventually it's small enough to fit in our pocket, and we can now assume that everybody we deal with has got a computer in their pocket. And while you know this, and I could get you to wave it like a Beyonce concert or something at me, I'd do the whole dance if you want. We can assume that. So the creativity is what you can do with it. Apple have pretty much got the rest of it sewn up. Apple, Android, profits, they'll take care of that. It's what you do with it. It's the artifacts and the culture around it, because they're going to carry on building. They're going to build the replacement, say the watch. But we don't know if that's going to be successful. I've got one on it, but I never really know what it's for, apart from to show that I'm so fit. But apart from that, what's it for? And now they're working at this. It's the AirPod. So the AirPod fits into your ear. It's wireless. You can talk to it. There seems to be the next thing. You were amazed, weren't you? Why would you want one of those things? Well, my 10-year-old really tells us the answer. Since he really could could speak, we've discovered, speaking to Siri. So he's had a device, we've monitored it, but the one thing we weren't really aware of was how long he's been chatting to it. So you know how we think it doesn't work very well, maybe, some of you. It's not worth training, it's not responsive. His Siri is 5 years old. You know, it's intelligent. He chats to it. Hey, Siri, play me that song. Hey, Siri, order this thing. Hey, Siri, when's Dad back? That kind of thing. So this is going to fit into your ear, wirelessly attached to Siri, and therefore to huge computers, computer banks around the world, so that you can just speak to your computer. And we know this is going to happen because we've always wanted to be better. We've wanted better, faster, cheaper, all the way through. Okay, so as we progress along, we humans, with our ideas, we find ourselves living in different places. And this is one of those strategically. You know, first of all, obviously, we're in the water drowning. I'll include a person drowning. Which person? I don't know where to look. I've been told I don't include enough. This is by... There we go. Okay. Oh, she's unhappy? I don't know. She's not sure. She can swim, but she might drown. So who knows? Because people still swim, don't they, across things, even though boats have been invented. I don't know why. She's wearing a swimsuit. There we go. So not drowning. Oh, hooray! Oh, I'm dying. So she wants to get to some dry ground. An island is better. But this is what we call still Bloody Island. Because eventually, even though it's better than living in the sea for her, because she's going to drown eventually, she gets onto this island and she finds pretty soon it gets full. And the only people who stay on it are zombies who never have new ideas. They always say things like, it's always been this way. Which is excellent. People still say that, despite the fact that we know it's a joke. They say things like, take it offline, we'll talk about it later, or I don't understand what you're talking about, or get out of here. And they said it's about the internet. When I mention robots and 3D printing, people still pull faces like it's never going to matter. So there are zombies, and then there are other people who cut down the trees, like the Easter Islanders apparently did. Still, they cut down the trees. They insist that coal mining is really important. This links back to here, of course. Proof that it's possible to live a very long time and still be stupid. We've now learned that it's possible to get over 70 and be even more stupid than you were when you were born. And then become president. So it's always been this way. So eventually, on Bloody Island, this is strategically for you now. This is a place where everyone can do what you can do. Everyone can do. There's no difference. And also where it's completely obvious what you do. So what you do can be copied by everybody. Well, actually, it doesn't have to be copied because we can do it for nothing. And it's completely obvious what you're doing. And so then what we tend to do is to set out to go, well, this is the creative among us, the adventurers, for somewhere better. I think I'm going to go all pirate on you. I I don't know why pirates are always blind. They've made mistakes in their lives and they've learned from them. And here we go. Not that being blind means you've made a mistake. That would get all pseudo-religious, I suppose. Here we go. So he's here and he's looking forward. He's bald, but he's got a skull and crossbones. And beautiful boat, I think. Should we give him a beautiful boat? There we go. Oh, I love my boat. I love sailing. I don't live with those zombies anymore. I'm going somewhere better. That's sort of a first point. Sometimes you know that the people around you are not really good enough or don't fit where you want to travel. You have some insight and they're not the best people to travel with you to make that insight real. You have to have the guts as a nowist to trust yourself and go. Trust yourself and go. So the nowist does that, and he has all sort of challenges along the way. We got sharks for him. Yeah, sharks. Oh, big teeth. There's lots of challenges trying to get there. Sometimes you're going to fail. Most entrepreneurs fail on the way to somewhere better, clearly, but they believe, like the gentleman earlier, that he's skinny and that his wife loves him and that everything will get better in the end. All of those things, if you're creative on your way. So you're making all these decisions, and you're trying to then get to various other places. This is one. This is Beautiful Island. And Beautiful Island is better than Bloody because only you can do what you can do. It's the USP. But what you do is still obvious. What happens if you do something that only you can do, but it's obvious why the customer likes it? They're going to copy what you're doing, and you're going to get dragged back this way. They will copy, and you will lose your advantage. And to avoid this happening, sometimes when somebody's doing an obvious thing that is of huge sort of benefit and value, what they do is they start to build castles. They build moats. They build barriers to entry. They think that with their patents that they will be able to stave off competition. Here we go. I think we'll make this person a female, male again, or just long hair. Just long hair. It is male. Okay, and they live here. And these people living on this island, they say yes, but no. Yes, it's a good idea. Yes, we'll do a little bit, but, let's not go too far. Let's not be too successful. That would be crazy stuff if we were too successful, if we bet on you, if we listened to the strange people. And so eventually you're dragged back, and companies try to protect them with patents, but they don't do anything with the ideas. Example of this, the first person who came up with the idea for 3D printing was Japanese. He lived in Japan. He was a researcher. He came up with the idea. He wrote 2 papers. I do symbols for everything. There we go, papers. So he wrote them, but he worked within an academic organization. They didn't give him the money for the patent. It sat there for a year. He lost his patent. So this is somebody who has an idea, doesn't really do anything with it, and as a result, loses his patent. Next stop with 3D printing. 3D printing's ace, by the way. So next stop with 3D printing is a French gentleman, and he's living in France. I don't know what his accent was, but let's assume it was strong. I speak French, but it's good to mock them, isn't it? Okay, there we go. He's working there. He's a researcher. He actually comes up with a physical way of 3D printing, and he puts in a patent, but he's a company man. And because he's a company man, they say there is no commercial benefit in 3D printing. So he stops. So first guy loses his patent, second guy patents it but doesn't invest in it. Third guy, obviously American, has a huge moustache, a guy called Charles Hull. I give him a huge moustache and a huge chin. Must have been Swedish originally. Has glasses now, I don't know about then, and a big nose. There we go. There's Charles Hull for you. It's kind of balding now. I guess he wasn't then. So Charles Hull. He actually he's a chemist, and he wants to solve a problem, but because he's an American, in a way, he's practical. He has pens in his pocket, and he builds the first 3D printer. Then it relies on another person. I think this matters. He looks like a serial killer. I always think that hair's serial killer-like. And here he is. And he is working in his garage. I'm sure he's a really nice guy. He's working in his garage. And he just wants to build something for rapid prototyping. So he has a sort of purpose in mind. And he just plays and plays with things until he carries on. You might have used, well, probably you haven't. He discovers a glue gun in his, there we go, glue gun, glue cartridge. Yeah. And he discovers that you can make 3D stuff with a glue gun. And then he puts it in a box. And who's used a 3D printer? Anyone? That's great, isn't it? If I went back to 1994 and said, who's used the web? You'd all wish you were that person. But only a few did. Jeff Bezos did, didn't he? He saw it, and he went, what can I do with that? What can I do with that? He had a regret minimization strategy. He saw it, and he got involved in it straight away. He did something with it. He made the idea useful. So that was about 10 of you, no more. And that was at your child's school, right? And then there are 2 hobbyists who shouldn't be working here. They should be doing something else entirely. But he saw it, and a 3D printer works like this, essentially. Well, this version, it has a roll of plastic. It comes down to what is, in effect, a glue gun. And it moves up and down, left to right, on a platform, and it builds things. And now, of course, now we've had prosthetics made from it. We've had physical, biological parts made from it. We have prototypes and real tools. This is going to transform a huge number of things eventually, but you're not excited about it yet because you really can't see the point until you own one and it takes a job or something. So then we get to this point, to paradise. And in paradise, it's full of people who have, in effect, written themselves messages from the future. From the future. And it says, you have got to do something now, fella. You've got to do something now with those ideas, because if you do something now, you won't have any regrets, and you will benefit from ideas that are stronger than you. And this includes, of course, Jeff Bezos with his big eyebrows and his bald head and his huge smile, because obviously he's well rich. There we go. So there we go. He lives on Paradise Island. Regret minimization strategy. He sees 3D printing. He invests in 3D printing. He sees the internet. He opens. Within a year of there being a web browser, he has an Amazon.com. 1 year. Yeah. Or Frank Wang, this fella, Chinese. I think we'll give him some hair. He's still young. Frank. He sees drones in a magazine like the one from Hayes there, and immediately he builds one. So he gets to be a billionaire because the first opportunity he gets, there's his remote control, he builds one, he takes it to college. Here is his amazing 3D printer. And he shows it to his professor. It isn't even the task, but he's an engineering student. He sort of squeezes it in. And he shows it to his professor, and the professor says, that's great. Why don't I invest in your company? That's 2 nowists in one room. One who builds it, and one who develops it. Or the Nowists who saw that General Motors had invented an amazing electric car called the EV1, but then they only invented it because they had to, because of Californian law. They didn't see the point of it, and so they stopped producing it. But two men were so annoyed that this had happened that they launched a car company that many of us know, Tesla. They were so annoyed that other people were so stupid that they invented their own electric car. Oh, he's asleep, because of course he can sleep in his autonomous car. He can't really. If he does, he dies. But he doesn't know that, does he? And so he's happy. Oh, there we go. I am so happy. That's him dreaming about himself being happy with hair. Not that people, and a beard, because he's jealous and everything. There we go. So what we're saying here is that there are a group of people in this world. There are a group of people in this different behaviors. And those different behaviors shape our world. There are people who love keeping the rules. They love keeping the rules. They're our good soldiers. There we go. I don't know what a soldier really looks like currently. Probably sad. But no, he's not. He's happy. It's in between. There we go. Good soldiers. These people love keeping the rules, and they love the purpose of the company. They just love it. They want everything to be successful. They are so conscientious, these people. Then you have people who love keeping the rules, but they hate the company, or they don't care. They don't care whether you succeed or you don't. Some of you are here, a few of you. You know, if the CEO says innovation is the thing, they go, innovation is the thing. I will be as crazy as you want, whether it works or not. And when can I leave? Yeah. So in a call center once, I looked into it, so some of these people, they did not measure call quality or what happened on the call or record anything. And so there are a certain number of people who are paid per call who would just pick up the phone and put it back down. Pick it up and put it down. I mean, they didn't care. $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, $6, I can always get another job. So these people are definitely our yes sirs. Then you have people, I mean, let's do a stereotypical version. We'll give them an earring and a goatee. And when his hair was black. There we go. And one day, he never knew that one day he would be the compere in Romania. Oh. Anyway, these are the rebels. These are the people who don't care about the company and don't care about the rules. They usually work in tech support, sometimes in security. There are a lot of traffic wardens among them. People who don't really care about the company or the rules. They're here. They're just like this to the world. And then you have maybe our mavericks. And our maverick is represented here by a famous maverick. Yeah, sticky out tongue. There's Einstein as my maverick. Because he loves the world, he loved the purpose, and he broke the rules, the conventions, with his imagination because he cared so much. The guy who launched the company, the film Fantastics, said once, when he was told his film was impossible to make, he said, "Give me your black sheep, give me your mavericks, give me the people who are heading out of the door, and I will make you my film." If you take these mavericks and these maverick behaviors, if you build deep cultures that recognize them, understand them, recognize ideas and understand ideas, and then do what is necessary, If you do this, you can shape the future. And so these very big waves that terrify so many people, right from here, who terrify the people who live on Bloody Island, who terrify the people who live on Beautiful Island and they protect themselves, are actually looked forward to by the innovators and the mavericks and the nowists. Actually, this is meant to be my daughter too. But they're looked forward to because they know that crisis is opportunity, change is opportunity. It's more exciting than nothing ever changing. They appreciate it when stuff goes wrong. They appreciate a chance to try themselves and test themselves against uncertainty. They have learned to surf, and so they welcome the wave. We can all be a little more nowist. There's no past in the future, but there is plenty of future in now. And I would urge you, in whatever role you're in, to grab hold of your hunches and your intuition, your passions, your love, to let go of the fears. You have this amazing brain that can think of all the alternatives. The problem becomes when you're so conscientious that all the alternatives seem like stuff that could go wrong, rather than stuff that can go right. There is only one way to find out, and that is to try. If you don't start, you are finished. Your idea is finished. It dies with you. My father was an amazing man, but he didn't put his ideas into practice. He is an amazing man. He still doesn't put his ideas into practice. He still wants the world to stop. Can the family please write to me on paper, he says. No, they can't. Learn to use email. The future is made of now. Your future is made of now. And I'd urge you to take advantage of that fact. Thank you very much for your time.
Max Mckeown, ladies and gentlemen. Max, great job. Thank you, thank you, thank you.